Hello, hello. We are back, baby. Episode 13. I think we're on 13. We've hit the teens, the teenage years of the Bentley Show. This is the Bentley Show. I'm your host, Scott Bentley. Thank you so much for listening yet again. Pretty eventful end of the week. The Detroit Tigers obviously have started spring training. Not games yet, but full camp has arrived. Everybody is in camp. So we're going to talk about some of the big storylines coming out of spring training to kind of look for going into games starting on Sunday. Then the Detroit Pistons played a game against the Pelicans, dropped it by 10 points, but looked pretty good. And Jeremy Grant did not get selected for the All-Star games. We're going to talk about that. The Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings. 5 goals. Gagne with a hattie. Bernier looks good. We're going to talk all about it. And then we're going to end with the Detroit Lions. Mel Kiper just released yesterday, I believe, his newest mock draft. And we're going to talk about what he has the Lions doing at 7 overall. So that's going to be today's show. Yet again, thank you for listening so much. This is the Bentley Show. I am Scott Bentley. Let's get right into it. So, for starters, the Detroit Tigers. Spencer Torkelson cut his finger. He cut his finger on a can opener and isn't going to take batting practice for a couple days, and I don't think he's going to play like the first game. I think we actually have a back-to-back to start off the year. I think we play Sunday and Monday, so he might not play the first 2 games or something. I think he had to get 1 stitch in his finger. He just sliced his finger open on a can opener. Not a big deal. People people on the timeline freaking out. I have people messaging me in group chats and I write for Diamond Digest. I work for Diamond Digest, which is a great baseball analysis, I guess you'd call it, company. And I have people adding me in there like, oh my gosh, you're like, bro, he's gonna miss. It's gonna affect him for like 48 hours, and then it's like a cut. It's literally a tiny ass cut on his finger. So not a big deal. Do not worry about it. Don't be one of these people that freaks out all over the timeline. There were way too many people that were like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, protect him at all costs, whatever. Like, don't be one of those people, man. That he cut himself on a can opener. All right, let's calm down. He will be perfectly fine. This will not affect him in any way, shape, or form. It's not even a story. Like he apparently he wasn't even wearing a bandage over it. Like this is not even a story, but some publication put it out there, so it just had to freak everybody out apparently. So yeah, don't be one of those people that's furthering the oh my gosh, this is a big deal story, because it's absolutely nothing. This is nothing. Okay, spring training, like I said, games start Sunday. I believe we play the Philadelphia Phillies on Sunday. Yeah, I think so. And then I think we play the Yanks on Monday. Those are, first couple of games, whatever. It doesn't really matter the opponent. Just gonna get some playing time on there. It's people that haven't played professional ball in a year and a half. Like there's people on the 40 man that weren't on the training site, that weren't at the COVID site in Toledo. I mean, you're gonna see some dudes play for the first time, literally in like 15, 16 months for some of these guys. So, gonna be awesome. Glad to have baseball back to its regularly scheduled programming. There are some big storylines, though, that are going to happen and are going to arise in spring. We will definitely go. There's more than 2. I only have 2 today because that's what we have time for, and they're the biggest 2 in my eyes. But there's a lot. There's the backup catcher situation. There's quite a bit. So we're going to start with these two, and then as the spring goes on, obviously, more will arise and more will be will come to a front. So we will definitely talk about them as they happen. But for today, we're just going to talk about two specifically, both involving pitching. The first one's going to be Franklin Perez. I think Franklin Perez, outside of maybe Jake Rogers, but even then, I feel like he might still have the edge on him. Franklin Perez has the most riding on spring training, maybe in the organization. Like I said, Jake Rogers has quite a bit riding on it. And then our other story, as we're going to cover, is Mize versus Skubal. There's a chance that the two of them, if there's only one rotation spot available and those two are going at it for it, obviously that becomes the biggest story of the spring. But as just a pure individual kind of like outlook on his career, I think Franklin Perez has a ton to gain and a ton to lose this spring. He's going to be one of the biggest storylines to watch. His performance is going to be one of the most important things to keep track of. This is a guy, obviously the prize possession that we got for Justin Verlander. That trade every day looks worse and worse and worse. Daz Cameron's hitting 210 in AAA. Jake Rogers couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And Franklin Perez has been healthy for like 40 innings across 3 seasons. Literally 3 seasons he's pitched like 40 professional innings. That's like a month's work if you're starting every 5th day. So, the traded, a top 2 pitcher in the history of the franchise. And there's a legitimate chance we got absolutely nothing for him, which is obviously devastating. And it's looking more and more every day like that's reality. So, Franklin Perez, I think, the reason why he's so important to me is because if you look at any scouting report or any report out of camp by a writer, anything, everybody says, yo, this dude still has crazy good stuff. He still has insanely good stuff when he is healthy. The problem is he's never healthy. But that's a reoccurring article. That's a reoccurring comment made by pretty much anyone who watches camp. Everybody says, damn, because he was a former top 100 prospect. Like, he was obviously the prize possession in the Justin Verlander trade. Like, you're trading JV coming off what should have been a Cy Young season. And then Lord knows how well he's been in Houston. That should have got you an insane return. And at the time, we thought it did. And Franklin Perez was one of the biggest reasons why we thought it was, because Franklin Perez was incredibly good, man. Incredibly highly regarded. Stuff was really good. Thought to be a top-end rotation starter. But can't stay healthy. So I think he has the most to gain or lose. I think if he goes out there and kills it this spring, I don't think he's going to be a starter this year. I think that's pretty much out of the question. However, I think that he could legitimately work his way into like a long relief bullpen spot if he looks really, really good. If he looks terrible, he's not getting any younger, and he's going to start in AAA, I'd imagine. Yeah, man. I think he has the most to lose or to gain. I mean, this could be a spring that solidifies him as a major league arm, health permitting, and could get him work, and then he could reprove himself from the bullpen and maybe work himself back into a starter kind of a caliber player. But I'm not sure the organization really has faith that he can ever pitch 200 innings. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the organization's just kind of given up hope that that's a possibility for him. But who knows? Who knows, man? I really think that he could prove himself and get a real opportunity. And if he shits the bed, then time's ticking on his career, honestly. I mean, if we give up on him, someone else would give him a chance just because of he's still relatively young and how highly regarded he was. His baseball career isn't just going to end, but um, the days are ticking. The days are ticking. This is definitely a prove it spring for him, and I think that his spring could single handedly determine where he plays. Whereas some guys, no matter how good they do, are going to start in the minors, or how bad they do, are going to start in the majors. I think he's one where he could really play himself into a bullpen role at the major league level if he does really, really well. And in the same breath, could really hurt. Obviously, the regular season means more. A bad spring isn't going to be the Tigers being like, oh, well, this dude's never going to be amount to anything. Like, if he does well in AAA, obviously that's it. But he could really determine a lot of stuff with a good spring or a bad spring. The other big storyline in my eyes is Skubal versus Mize. There's been a lot. No one really knows what the hell's going on with this rotation. Nobody. Nobody has any idea what the living hell is going on with this rotation. Is it, my opinion this whole time has been that there's one spot available between Skubal and Mize. And whoever wins it is going to be the fifth starter going into the season. And whoever loses it and starting the season in AAA and injuries and or Michael Fulmer not being able to pitch past the third inning, etc., that is when whoever loses the job will get called up later in the season. Okay? That's been my mindset for months now, honestly. I've never really been of the belief that those two guys are both going to be in the starting five rotation on opening day. I've never believed that. There are some writers out there who think that it is, that they will. I'm very much in, I'm going to have to see it to believe it. I'm not sure with how many starters we signed. I'm not sure it's really justifiable to be like, hey, we're going to have like 8 starting pitchers and one of them is a rookie that had a 7 ERA in like 7 starts last year. I don't think that really makes too much sense. So I think the reason they went out and got Tehran and those kind of signings is because that only one of Skubal and Mize is gonna make the team out of camp. Now, I could be wrong. That the Tehran signing and signings like that could just be pure depth because we have injury problems at starting pitcher every year. But I've been of the belief for a while that there's only one spot available between those two, and they're going to duke it out for it. As far as who I'd rather see, I trust Hinch. You know what I mean? I'm not going to come up here and disagree with anything AJ Hinch does, really, from a managerial standpoint. Now, if it's Avila's call, I'll disagree with it. But I'm going to assume that Hinch has some input on it. So, obviously, if we're just looking at last year, Skubal should start in the majors and Mize should start in AAA. That's another reason why I think there might only be one spot is because Casey Mize has still a lot of his form that he has to work on, a lot of technicality issues that people are pointing out and are saying that could lead to huge injury problems down the road. So, yeah, and it's not like he has those issues and he was shutout ball last year. Like he had those issues and had a 7 ERA. I think between mechanics, that's the word I've been thinking of this whole time. Jeez, between mechanics that pretty much everyone universally agrees needs work. Between that and struggling in his first major league stint, I think it makes a lot of sense for Mize to start in AAA. People are going to freak out about it. I'm totally prepared for that storm. It's not a big deal. People are going to be like, oh, he needs to get major league opportunities, blah, blah, blah. He's ruining his development, blah, blah, blah. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. How about that? There are 97 million levels of the minor leagues for a reason. Not just for fun. It's for development purposes. He had a 7 ERA in the majors. Am I going to be mad if he makes the team out of camp? No. I get to see Casey Mize every fifth day in an Old English D. I'm not going to be mad at that. But if I was Avila, he'd barring an insane spring training with new mechanics and lights out pitching, I'm probably starting him at AAA. His mechanics are still whack, and he didn't do well. You have to. The reason that there's so many minor league levels is so that you can prove that you deserve a promotion before you get promoted. That didn't happen because he was shut down the second half of 19, and then there was a COVID team last year. There was no minor league system. He basically went from AA to the majors with a year break in between. No shit. He's gonna struggle. So, I really am not looking forward to people freaking out if he starts the season in the minors and talking about how stupid it is. It's really not that stupid. It actually kind of makes a lot of sense. Skubal, on the other hand, it's really his job to lose. He really settled in nicely last year. I think Fetter's going to do wonders for him. He also has the longevity and good mechanics and the style to go deeper into games. It's really his job to lose. It's more of just, will Mize play himself into also making the team, or was it just going to be Skubal? I highly doubt that Mize makes it and Skubal doesn't. I don't think that's really a feasible option. So those are the two biggest storylines for me. The biggest one obviously being Mize and Skubal and that last rotation spot. But Franklin Perez is definitely something to keep an eye out as well. That'll do it for the Detroit Tigers. So now, let's move on to the Detroit basketball Pistons. What do we all want to start with? Okay, well, let's get the upset me out of the way. Jeremy Grant's not an all-star. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to speak to anyone. And then not only that, he sat out. And then he didn't play. Didn't make the All-Star game and then sat out. Oh, I feel so bad for him. He deserved it, man. It's Detroit versus everybody. He absolutely deserved it. Didn't get it. I mean, it's not like one of the biggest snubs of all time or anything. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's embarrassingly bad. He's probably not even the biggest snub of the year. I think Booker not getting in first try is probably the biggest snub. Now he's going to replace Anthony Davis for injury reasons, whatever. But I think Booker not getting in outright is probably the biggest snub of the year. So I'm not trying to make it sound like this is an all-time horrible snub, but he should have made it. He's having a career year, obviously. But when you play for a team when you're the best player on the second worst team in the NBA, it's going to be hard for people to give you a look. It's going to be very difficult for people to give you that serious look. And that's just, you can go back in any point in history and just look at all-star games. And individual stats are obviously very important, but winning's big. Winning is the answer. You want a winning team that helps you more, honestly, probably than your individual stats outright at some point. So that is why he didn't make it. Very sad, very disappointing. I still think he should have made it, but again, it's really hard to say that it's unbelievably ridiculous when he plays for a 9-win team. You know what I mean? It's tough. All right, let's get into this Pels game. The Detroit Pistons drop this one on Wednesday night to the New Orleans Pelicans, 118-128. This game was highlighted by Zion being Zion, 32, 6, and 5 on a very good shooting percentage. Brandon Ingram did really well for the Pels as well. Lonzo had a good game. They almost dropped 130, right? The Pelicans had a pretty damn good game when you drop 130 points. Now, the Pistons dropped damn near 120. So this was not that bad of an offensive game for this team. I will say that, we almost dropped 40 points in the first quarter. So we started off hot and then slowly cooled down. And then, like we often do, this game was tied going into the fourth, and we lost by 10. This is just the story of the season. We play hard. We play really hard. This team has a lot of fight in them. That's very obvious. We just don't really have the veteran leadership or the just experience to be able to close down games yet. If it is close in the fourth quarter, we are losing. I just come to that assumption, honestly. So, those are the team stats. The Pelicans obviously looked very good. As far as the Pistons, again, we dropped almost 120 points. A lot of good stuff happening this game on the offensive side. We'll talk about the defense later because it was atrocious. Plumlee with 21, 9, and 7 on 9 of 10 shooting. If he keeps doing this, man, this is going to be one of those signs that when it happened, people are like, what the hell is Weaver doing? Stupid, stupid, stupid. And then when he flips them for a back-end first-round pick, you're going to be sorry. You're going to be sorry. All right? I really think that Plumlee could actually raise his become, like, a decently valuable player. At only $8 million AAV, again, we talked about it a couple episodes ago, people freak out when they hear about, $24 million for Mason Plumlee, blah, blah, blah. You got to look at AAV, not overall money. Same thing with the Tatis thing. Oh, $340 million is ridiculous. He's making like $24 million a year. That's a steal, okay? Got to look at AAV. And $8 million for a center that's playing as well as Plumlee's played the last 2 weeks is more than worth it. Sadiq Bey, decent night. 13 points, 4 of 8 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3. Not bad at all. He looked really good on the defensive end this game. I think, honestly, he was... Oh, no, there's one more person. Only 2 people looked good defensively this game, and he was one of them. I thought he looked really well defensively. Again, I think if he figures out how to be a remotely lockdown defender, it's over. Like, he's going to be so valuable because of his ability to defend the 2 through the 4. He can switch on to anybody. He can hedge. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what style of defense you're running, whether it's man or zone, because whoever goes into his zone, he's going to be able to defend. And whoever he's switched on to when playing man, he's going to be able to defend. That, along with the shooting, I think, like I said, I've said it a million times, he's built for the league. His ceiling is very debatable. His floor is maybe the highest of any of the young guys on the team. I think, at worst, we're looking at a 10-plus year NBA veteran that gets like 15 minutes off the bench and goes and gets you whatever, like 8 points and plays solid defense off the bench. Like, his floor, I think, is like 10 to 15 year NBA veteran, like solid rotational piece on a competitive team. I think he's going to be better than that, but he has one of the highest floors in the league, or on the team rather. Just unbelievable, built to play NBA basketball, for real. The other story defensively was Dennis Smith Jr. Offensively, 11 points, 7 assists, 5 of 12 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3. However, Dennis Smith Jr. looked incredible defensively, which has not been something we've really been able to say about anyone on this team this year. Nonetheless, him specifically, he's not turned in some amazing defensive performances. But last night he looked, or Wednesday night rather, he looked incredibly impressive defensively. Got, I think, 3 steals. Yeah, 3 steals. Very handsy. Was switching on and off people. He looked really, really, really good. I think with his athleticism, man, there should be no reason that he can't be a solid defender in this league. And I think last night, I don't know if I'm ready to call it like a first step, because I feel like that might be over-exaggerating a little bit, but it was definitely a good – it's great to see. It's definitely encouraging. It's a good thing to see. It's a good thing to witness him picking up on things defensively and improving his defense, even if it is just for a game. He looked really good on the defensive end. Who else? Josh Jackson continues to be very good. He also continues to be unbelievably streaky when it comes to shooting, right? So he had 25 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 10 of 18 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3. When he's feeling it with a jump shot, that dude can explode for 35. When he's feeling his J, he really can. But his jump shot's one of the most inconsistent in the league. What's not inconsistent is his ability to drive to the dish, drive to the hole. He is unbelievably talented at driving through the lane and driving to the hole. He needs to continue to do it. I like his strategy he's been doing, where like he'll take some jump shots early. If the shot's not falling, then he just goes, okay, this is an attack the basket game, and he ends with 25 points. And if the jump shot is falling, then okay, you're feeling yourself, and you can just tear apart a defense and do whatever you want. Such a good story. We're going to have 2 people finish in the top 4 or 5 for most improved player of the year, which is unbelievably fun, with Josh Jackson and obviously Jeremy Grant. Just a super fun story. And Josh Jackson continues to impress. Like I said, 25 points in 30 minutes. Svi shot decently well, 4 of 9 from the field and from 3, 12 points. Not bad. Saban Lee continues to look very good. 13, 2, and 4 on 5 of 8 shooting and 1 and 1 from 3. He's not taking like 9 threes a game, but he's taking threes every game, and he hasn't missed a 3 in like 2 games now. Because he went 3 of 3, I think, in the Magic game before this. And he went 1 of 1 tonight. He's feeling it. And then, my boy, Beef. 18 minutes, 11 points, 10 boards, 5 of 8 shooting. Very good offensive game from Isaiah Stewart. Had some good offensive boards, had a block and a couple of steals. He still needs to get better defensively. The Pelicans tore us the hell apart inside. So we still have some work to do. And this is kind of like the definition of blocks don't determine good defense kind of a game, because Isaiah Stewart had a block and Mason Plumlee had 4. And yet we got absolutely obliterated inside. So this is the definition of like blocks and steals don't determine good defense. It's like errors in baseball. Your fielding percentage does not determine if you're a good defender or not. It doesn't. It has honestly very little, if anything, to do with it. Blocks and steals are my basketball equivalent of that. Okay, blocks and steals don't determine how good of a defender you are. So, that is the individual performances. Anything else here? Wayne Ellington continues to struggle. He's really playing himself out of that set. Oh, I wanted to end on Sekou. That's what I wanted to say for last. Jeremy Grant didn't play, so Sekou got 25 minutes and looked lost, honestly. He did not look good defensively whatsoever, and offensively in 23 minutes he had 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting. And it was 1 of 4 from 3. Not sure why he was shooting so many threes. He looked for lack of a better term, irrelevant on the court. He didn't look like he really, not that he didn't belong. I mean, the kid's in the NBA, but he just didn't look like he was part of whatever was happening out there. He had 4 assists, which was good. That's solid. He just looked timid and not like he really knew too terribly much of what rotations were being ran and stuff like that. So he still has a lot of development to go. I still think the world of him. I still think he's going to be a very good player in this league for a very long time, but he is still so unbelievably young. We need to have some patience with him. I say what I said about him because that's how he looked, but I'm in no way saying that I'm like giving up on him or that we should have pitchforks and be like, oh, Sekou sucks. Like, he's still so young, has so much development still to go, so much room to grow. By no means should we be slandering this kid at all. So, that is the recap of that game. As a team, I mean, yeah, we got out-rebounded, got outshot, got out pretty much everything. That's about it. So, Detroit Pistons drop a 10-point loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. One of my good friends is a diehard Pels fan, and he was telling me after the game that we just started talking about the Pistons and how good they looked and how it's one of the most amusing tanks of all time because we actually played really well. And he said that as a team, you know, pretty much everybody that goes into a game against us should win or should be favored to win. But not that the Pelicans are world beaters or anything, but in their current state. But he just said, you know, like no matter, and we did beat them before, so I guess he has a right to feel this way. But he was just telling me, you know, this is a team that when you go in there, they play really hard, and it's not a gimme win. They have the second worst record in the NBA, but it's not a gimme win. So that's, from an outsider that's not a Pistons fan, that's awesome to hear just because it means that something good's happening. You know what I mean? We got something cooking. We got something cooking over here. So that's awesome. And yeah, I think that's it for the Stones. All right. Next up, the Detroit Hockey Red Wings. Yes. The Detroit Hockey Red Wings. They drop... No. Dude, my brain is all over the place. All right. Detroit Hockey Red Wings. Down to business. Whew. Incredible game last night. Unbelievable. Put up a 5-piece on the Nashville Predators. A 5-piece. First time we have scored 5 goals since December of 2019. And the first time that a Red Wing has had a hat trick since the home opener in 2019. Anthony Mantha with a 4-goal game, I believe. Unbelievable. And if you want a full 40-minute breakdown of the game, I am now, like I've said last episode, I'm now a co-host over at Locked On Red Wings with Ethan and Nolan. So check out that podcast if you want just a full 40-minute breakdown of just the Wings, just the game and all that. But to summarize, this was one of the most ridiculous hockey games I've ever seen. This was unbelievable. Okay, this is going to sound ridiculous because we scored 5 goals. We probably should have gotten shut out. Like, none of those 5 goals deserved to be goals. All 3 of Gagne's were ridiculous, okay? He had one behind the goal line that he just, like, sneaked in, bounced off the inside of the pad, fell in. Then he had another one from the side that bounced off, like, the inseam of Pekarine's right pad. Bounced off, like, the inseam and redirected in. Okay? Had no business going in whatsoever. And then even the empty netter. He did like a no-look spin snipe right between the pipes from the other end of the ice. It was an empty netter. None of those three should have gone in, and yet all three of them did. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then even Glendening's goal, he misses, gets pushed over, misses again, gets pushed over, checked to the ground again, from his knees, just backhands it for shits and gigs, and it finds the back of the net somehow. And then even Ernie's was a bounce-off rebound that he just swatted in midair, and it went like none of those 5 goals should have. It was the most ridiculous 5-goal game I've ever seen. We legitimately should not have scored probably any of them, and yet we put up a 5-piece. Ridiculous. It was truly ridiculous. Just an unbelievable, game. I've been very hard on the defense, very critical of the defense this year. It looked better. It looked better. It didn't look great, but it looked better. And the biggest story continues to be Bernier. Bernier to steal a stat, I guess, from Nolan over at Locked On Red Wings. He mentioned that this is a team that you expect to lose every single night. You go into every single Red Wings game going, okay, we're going to lose tonight. This is probably the worst team in the NHL. At best, the second worst team in the NHL. And yet Bernier's record is 5-3. That's unreal. That's an unbelievable stat for how bad this team is, and like he said, how much of a guaranteed loss the Red Wings feel like. The fact that he has a 5-3 net record when he is in net is truly unreal and a testament to how great he's been. I don't know if he's really a trade bait piece, but the price is right. You know what I mean? He might be more part of the long-term plans, however, with how well he's looked. We'll see. Definitely will be interesting. And Grice is a very, very good number 2 option to have, so that's awesome. The Gagne game. The Gagne game, man. It's unbelievable. Obviously, he's player of the game. Honestly, Bernier is probably still player of the game just because of how ridiculous those 3 goals were. Larkin's interesting. Dylan Larkin has multiple. He looked a lot better last night. But there's about a week stretch there where he was pretty much non-impact. Wasn't hurting the team, wasn't really helping the team significantly, was pretty non-impact. And he looked a lot better last night. He needs to start putting some points on the board, whether it's assists or goals or whatever. I mean, and there's a stat like people think he's just snake bitten. Sure. I mean, it looked like it last night. He even posted one. There's, we probably should have scored even a couple more goals than we had, but just what a game. What a game. Hronek is the other big talking piece. Like I was very critical of him in the Nashville series. I thought he played very poorly. However, he looked incredible last night. He looked like a D1. That sounds like college. He looked like a first-line defenseman last night, which is the first time I've been able to say that about him in a minute. And he looked like it for all 60. He looked really, really good. Was playing a physical brand of hockey. Not the biggest dude in the world, but he looked damn good last night. So that's obviously great to see. So between Bernier, the ridiculous Gagne Hattie that was, and Hronik. We put together a pretty damn good product. The most fun Wings game that we've had probably all year, let's be honest. Maybe even in 2 years. Oh, the Mantha 4-goal game probably is the last time. So, yeah. It's been a minute. So the only other thing that comes out of this game is the Glendening situation. He puts another goal on the stat sheet. You know, what you want to move him. We got to move him, right? He's got to be someone that's getting calls. I feel like he absolutely is someone we got to trade. So here's the thing. He's the best face-off man in the entire NHL. He's leading the NHL in face-off win percentage. Everybody. 65% or something ridiculous. So, to trade him to a team, like I said, he adds another goal to the stat sheet last night, as undeserving or as ridiculous as it was. Add another goal to the stat sheet, okay? He is now got a pretty damn good stat sheet going for him when it comes to points and goals scored. And obviously, his biggest testament is leading the NHL in face-off percentage. So, my thing is we have to move him because there's a team out there that would literally just pick him up just for the sheer fact of being able to win face-offs when you're taking them in the defensive zone. That's obviously huge. Being able to send somebody out there, and obviously it's never a guarantee, but send out the guy who is the best at taking face-offs in the entire NHL to go take face-offs whenever you're in your defensive zone, that's obviously massive. That's massive. So, I think that there's a lot of value in him, and the better he does, the more that value raises. I feel like getting a decent draft pick compensation for him is definitely not out of the question. He's also cheap, expiring deal as well. It just makes way too much sense to move him. It doesn't make any sense to hold on to him. So, I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think that there was a report earlier this week that him, somehow, someway, Mark Stahl, and Bobby Ryan were all already kind of receiving phone calls. Bobby Ryan is almost certainly going to get moved. Some team that needs a solid, probably for a competitive team, third-line winger that can go out there and give you some goals, give you some one-timers. Is obviously will always hold value and always be moved at the deadline. Kind of like bullpen arms in baseball. Can never have too many of those. So that's obviously one. And then I think that Glendening might give you the best. Not Glendening. Yes, Glendening. Jeez. Glendening could give you the biggest return. If we trade Mark Stahl, that's a Christmas miracle. We did a whole episode on Locked On Red Wings about the trade market and about those three guys and what kind of returns they could get. We did some mock trades and stuff, so if you're looking for more in-depth, you can go listen to that. But unbelievable. The fact that anyone has any remote interest in Mark Stahl is a miracle. He's a $6 million cap hit almost. It's like $5.7 million cap hit. And if he goes to a competitive team, he's undoubtedly a third-line defenseman. But competitive teams love veterans. And for a third-line defenseman on an expiring deal, no matter what the cap hit is, I don't know. I think it's ridiculous that anyone would want him personally, but it's not. I can kind of understand the logic. If a good team with cap space, like the Bruins or something, were to kind of go after him, that would maybe make a little sense to me. But back to the main point, I think Glendening is absolutely undoubtedly the big piece that we have on this team that we can move at the deadline, unless we're moving Mantha. Which we better get a fat return for. I'm not really sure that's really in anybody's best interest. His value is lower than it could be right now. If he gets hot the next 2 weeks, he's still a young winger with a lot of potential and is obviously on a hot streak. That's a different story. But like today, I don't think it really makes sense to trade him. His value has been way higher, and I would like to think will be way higher. If you're set on trading him, just doing it today on February 26th just doesn't make sense. But that's a whole different conversation about what you want to do with him. So, Glendening. Probably going to give us the biggest return. So, we need those three guys to play well. Raise that value. Get us a fat return. And, yeah, I mean, there's a possibility if Glendening even really likes playing here that he just decides, I'll get traded and then come right back. You know what I mean? Why not? All right. That'll do it for the winged wheels over there, the Red Wings. Let's get to our final team segment, whatever you want to call it, the Detroit Football Lions. The big story in Lions world this week is Mel Kiper's mock draft 2.0, I believe is what he's on, released last night. Probably not night. Probably yesterday morning. Thursday morning. And it was ballsy. It was so the Lions specifically were one of the highlighted teams, and you'll see why in a second. So basically, in this mock, he has a lot. He has a lot of quarterbacks. He has a lot of quarterbacks. He has Zach Wilson going number 2 overall. Okay, so he has Lawrence going 1. And then he has the Falcons making a trade with the Jets and taking Zach Wilson number 2 overall. Then he has Miami going receiver. The Jets now at 4, going tight end at 4. That according to Kiper, in this reality, the Jets have full belief in Sam Darnold, and yeah, in a top heavy quarterback draft, having them going tight end at 4 is a pretty bold statement. They have taken Pitts, obviously. The Bengals going O-line at 5, taking the kid from Oregon. Eagles taking a wide receiver at 6, which they could never have too many of because they have no weapons. And then we get to us at 7. This mock is wild, by the way. Like, wild. So, at 7, they have us trading down to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the first thing that pops in your head should be, wow, we're trading down with Justin Fields on the board. You're absolutely correct. And with that, he has the Niners drafting Fields at 7 with our pick. He doesn't give exactly what the return would be. He doesn't mock trades, but he said something similar to the Bears trade when they traded up to get Trubisky, infamously, or when who traded up? Oh, the Packers. When the Packers traded up to get Devin. Not the Packers. The Steelers traded up to get Devin Bush. That kind of return. So we're looking at moving down and then getting some second and third round depth picks to move back from 7 to 12. Move back 5 spots, get some more draft picks. We already have 2 first rounders the next 2 years. Let's just go all in and just get a ton of, have like 7 picks in the first 3 rounds next year. So that's the kind of return that he's hinting at, and the kind of return that he is thinking that we would get. So he has us, and then he has Mac Jones going at 8 to the Panthers. And then he has the Patriots trading up with the Broncos at 9 to get Trey Lance. So, like, he has, what is that, 5 quarterbacks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10. He has 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10, and none of them going to the Lions, who have a pick in the top 10. It's definitely bold. Here's what I'll say. It's tough. That's really tough. I think me personally, if Justin Fields is on the board when we pick at 7, we better take him. I'm not sure I'm really behind passing on Fields. Even now, obviously, if we're not going to take Fields anyway, I would rather trade down than just pass on him. I also forgot to mention, then at 12, they have us taking Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State. Why they consider to be the best linebacker in the draft. And Lord knows we need defense. So, I understand his reasoning is we have golf for the next couple of years anyway. We don't need a quarterback this year if we don't really want one, which I have said myself in previous episodes. I've agreed with that point. However, I've also said that if Fields is on the board, that's my top choice. My top choice is Fields being at the board at 7 and us taking him. There's no scenario I'd rather have. Fields is my number one choice. So, while I feel like I said that weird while I totally understand going defense, and Lord knows this defense is horrific. Okay, horrific. I'm not sure if I can justify passing on Justin Fields. Is it weird that, like, he has Zach Wilson going 2? Is it weird that if Fields was already gone and then it was just Wilson was the best QB on the board at 7, that I'd be more okay with us trading back and taking defense? Is that weird of me to think? Like, I'd be more upset if we passed on Fields than Wilson by, like, a lot, I think. Again, a lot of stuff's going to change in the next 2 months or month and a half, I guess, until the draft. This is draft 2.0, and Lord knows that dude loves himself a mock draft. Mel Kiper's going to have plenty more. But I just found it incredibly interesting that with 3 quarterbacks on the board at 7, he has us trading back, and one of those being Justin Fields. I'm not sure I'm on board. I think I've decided that I would. I can't put that in my brain. I can't be like, oh yeah, like Justin Fields is on the board and we're just gonna trade back from the pick. I don't think I can do it. And again, in a weird way, I feel like if it was Wilson, if Fields went in the top 6 and Wilson somehow fell to us at 7, I think I'd be okay with us trading back if he got to us. I wouldn't be mad if we took him, I guess. I don't know. I go back and forth a lot. We also, Lord knows, we still need a ton of wide receivers. You can get those later, I guess. Ah, man. It's a shit show. We're going to have a lot more mocks to come. Plenty more to discuss. I think my final thought is if Fields is there, you take Fields. If Fields is there, you take Fields. I don't think I can get behind not taking Justin Fields if we have the ability to. Trading back is an interesting point, though. Trade back, and then he said he would take defense if it was still on the board, but if Parsons leaves, then they could even go wide receiver. even though Chase, I think he mocked Chase and Smith would both be gone by our pick at 12, so we wouldn't be getting one of those two. I don't know, man. Super interesting. Definitely go check out the mock. It's very, very interesting. It's not, obviously trading down is something that you always have to consider, especially when you're a rebuilding team. And your draft capital is huge. Getting as many draft picks as possible is huge. So if your guy's not there at 7, it's obviously definitely something to talk about. But I don't know, man. That scares me. Passing on Fields is scary to me for some second and third round pick depth. That's scary. That's really scary to me. Okay. I think that's it. I think that's all I got for the Lions, which means that's all I got for the show. Thank you so much for listening. The support continues to be unreal. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, still continuing to reach out to me and tell me positive things and areas of criticism, things I can do better, which are always welcome. I'm having a great time. This has opened doors for me. Being able to put my face out there and my brand out there and have people reach out to me and give me opportunities that I don't think I would have had, whether it's co-hosting podcasts or guesting on podcasts way bigger than myself. It's been awesome. It's been an awesome experience. And all that in only 13 episodes, baby. So we ride. We ride together. The show goes on. The campaign continues, baby. Okay? That was infamously my my closing. What video was that? Does anyone remember? That was a Tigers post-game video that kind of blew up. What was I yelling about? Man, I just yell so much. I don't even... Like, I feel like you yell a lot. Like, I feel like screaming should be like, damn, like, you should always remember what you're screaming about, right? Because, like, screaming's a big deal. Like, you're clearly very mad or passionate or upset about something, right? So, like, I feel like when you yell about something, that's like, damn, like, I'm going to remember this moment because I'm yelling. This sounds horrible. I'm yelling in my car in front of a camera so often that I don't even remember. I don't even remember what I'm so mad about. Like, that video was actually pretty big, and I remember I ended it the same way. I said, the show goes on, the campaign continues. Was it a free Casey Mize thing? It wasn't a doll thing because it was during the season. I think it was a free Casey Mize thing. I think we had just lost. And I said, yeah, I think it must have been. It must have been a case. It must have been a, this is stupid. We just lost another game. We need to call him up. The show goes on. The campaign continues. Free Casey Mize till Casey Mize free. It must have been something like that. I think it was Mize related, though. Wow. I can't even remember. I just yell about everything. All right. Thank you so much again for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. Peace and love. Going to therapy. Go. That's it. Go to Detroit Sports.